What's up, everybody, and thank you for listening to Mastering the Mindset. My name is Dariusdotch, and I'm an actor, hip-hop artist, and fitness and life coach. And I'm here to personally help you train and improve your mindset so that you can, 1, become the best version of yourself mentally, and 2, gain focus and motivation to be able to take action and achieve the success in life that you want and deserve. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to my channel, and at the end of this episode, if you liked it, please share it with a friend or a loved one or someone who will benefit from hearing this message. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm ready to go on this journey with you, and that journey begins now. And welcome back to another episode. We have been covering a lot of topics on here, and if you're like me, you've at least been trying to apply some of these things in your life. And if you have, then you should, without a doubt, be seeing some growth. And I would love to hear where you've grown and how you've changed for the better. And that's exactly what I'm touching on today, growth. And how do we grow more and why it's so critical to our lives. I came across this very dramatic sounding quote out there, and it says, you're either growing or you're dying. And as dramatic as that sounds, there is some truth behind that. It's part of nature, and it's part of the human experience. And unfortunately, too many times people get comfortable and they become stagnant. We get stagnant and we wonder why we're not happy. Now, I truly believe the path to true happiness, to true fulfillment, is to always be growing, always be changing, evolving, always chasing that better version of ourselves. And that process should be happening on a daily basis. And actually, it's nature. Literally, your body has 37 trillion cells. 37 trillion. Now think about this. Your body replaces cells every second. Your body replaces 810,000 cells every second. Now that's almost hard for me to wrap my mind around. 810,000 cells every second are being replaced inside your body. That means that just in the time that you've been listening to me talk, several million cells inside your body have been replaced. Old cells are dying and new cells are replacing them. You're growing and changing all the time, constantly. Even though we don't feel it in our body, we're growing and replacing ourselves on a constant, steady basis. Your digestive system replaces itself every 4 days. Your lung tissue replaces itself every 8 days. Every year, 10% of your skeleton replaces itself. I'm going to say that again. Every year, 10% of your skeleton replaces itself. So what all this means is that every 10 years, you are literally a completely different person. So your body is replacing itself every second of every day, and we're not even really aware of all the changes happening. Now, the most important thing to take away from that is the fact that we need to be growing and changing other areas of our lives as well. And it definitely needs to be happening in our minds. The pathway to happiness is growth all the time. In order to grow the external part of our lives, in order to grow our identities, our happiness and confidence, we have to be aware of the need to grow because we have to be able to take control over it day in and day out. So let's talk about growing in our lives. So I believe every year should be a different version of you. If you look back a year from now and compare yourself, you should without a doubt see some growth. And if you don't, you shouldn't be comfortable with that. That should definitely be something for you to evaluate. Because too many times, even though our skeleton is replacing itself by 10%, even though our lung tissue is replaced every 8 days, our digestive system, too many times, we don't replace ourselves with the next best version of ourselves. And then there becomes a certain age, an age that's different for everybody, but it's an age that, let's say, the 18-year-old version is almost exactly like the 19-year-old you. Or was it 26? And you're almost identical to 25. Or the 35-year-old you looks exactly like the 34-year-old you. And the process of growth begins to slow down, and a lot of times it stops altogether, and we stop replacing ourselves every year, and we get stagnant, and we never change, and we never grow. We need to get to the place where growth is an addiction for you. Let me say that again. We have to get to the place where growth is an addiction for you. How many times have we done this or said this? I know I have. You get presented some kind of information or some situation presents itself to you that would no doubt help you grow, but it requires you to put in some work. And you say stuff like, yeah, I'll look into that. Or, yeah, I should do that. Or, okay, I'll see. Or, yeah, you're right. I need to go ahead and get around to that. Right? We've said that. Right? See, we would like to grow, but every time we don't make it a priority, we don't make it an urgency, then we don't get there. It's impossible to. And the truth about it is, whether you believe it or not, you are either growing or dying. Just like you didn't know about all the ways your body grows and replaces itself, you need to grow as well. You do. You need to grow, and it needs to become an intention of yours. It needs to become an obsession. You can't always acquire and get what you want, right? That new house, that new car, that relationship, that job. But what you can control and acquire is the next version of you. Of you. And that requires being uncomfortable. That requires growth. Just like being at the gym. Think about working out. To build muscle, you have to intentionally break down your muscles, right? You have to make your muscles uncomfortable for periods at a time. So think about the times when you work out. Do you think that if you go to the gym or work out from home, that if you are comfortable the entire time, you'll see growth? That's literally impossible. No, you have to break those muscles down to build them back up again to get that growth. And this is true in life. You know, sometimes we have to take a step backwards. It may get uncomfortable, just like in the gym, just like on those last few reps, it may start to hurt. It gets really uncomfortable. But we know that when we're hurting, we're growing. We know that. We know if it's not hurting, then we're not growing. We know that concept without having to put much thought into it, right? But it's also true when it comes to our identity, to our confidence, our life. It has to be hurting at least a little bit in order for us to be growing. So we have to run towards that pain, not away from it. We can't be comfortable in life and grow. That is literally impossible. So how do we grow? Okay. Ask yourself this. In the last week, last month, how many uncomfortable situations have you put yourself in? How many uncomfortable situations have you put yourself in that challenge you to grow? That push you to get out of that next level, that push you to get to that next level of who you are? Are you under the illusion that you can acquire the external things you want in life? The new car, the new house, the growth, the goals, the career, the marriage, the things you want without growing who you are? You couldn't be further from the truth. As a matter of fact, if you did happen to get those things, understand that the power of your identity is real. If you got those things without growing yourself, you will lose those things. Think about all the celebrities who have the world given to them, especially the ones who strike lightning in a bottle, right? The overnight successes. How many times have we seen them not be able to handle it? How many times are celebrities in the news because they just can't handle all the things that have been given to them? They didn't grow. People think money would change you. I say no. Money makes you even more of who you already are. Same thing happens to athletes. How many times are they in the news for doing some wild, crazy thing, right? And you're thinking to yourself, now how in hell do they make those stupid choices? And it's simple. They can't handle it because they haven't grown. I think about me being in college and playing football. So many dudes came through that program and couldn't make it because they couldn't handle the responsibility of being a college athlete. They would go out partying and drinking, and a lot of them would flunk out of school because they literally couldn't handle having a scholarship, being committed to football and school at the same time. No, the partying consumed them. They couldn't handle it at all and got kicked off the team and ended up leaving and going back home. And some of these dudes were really extremely talented. Man, one guy I played with, he should be in the NFL right now as an NFL kicker. The best kicker I ever seen in real life, that I ever seen on a football field, like literally in front of me. And he didn't even make it to his junior year. My point is, if you were to acquire the things you really want without growing yourself, you will eventually lose it because they aren't congruent with who you are as a person. What's up, what's up, what's up? I want to take a quick moment to say thank you so much for listening to this episode and to also let you know that this podcast is 100% donation driven, which means it's completely funded by you, the listener. So if you like the content I have to offer, I would love it if you can make a donation and you get to pick the amount. I left links in the description of the video as well as my homepage. You can choose which way benefits you the best to donate. And if you need more options, please feel free to email me at dariusdotch@gmail.com. That's dariusdotch@gmail.com. Again, thank you so much for being here, and let's get back to it. So evaluate yourself. This last week, this last month, how much have you put yourself in those uncomfortable situations to help you grow? And that can be a number of different ways. It can be by putting yourself in positions that you're not really comfortable with, especially if you consider yourself to be a perfectionist. Or it could be that uncomfortable feeling by putting in that extra time after work, right? We all want to come home and relax, right? But let's be real. If you're relaxing, you ain't growing. And I get it, you're tired. Work is hard. But that's life. Don't use the excuse of work, because you better believe there are people out there who are busting their ass and getting things done at an elite level after work. One of the realest things I heard Steve Harvey say was that if you want to be a millionaire, you can't sleep 8 hours a night. If you want to be successful and make a lot of money and get ahead in life, you can't sleep 8 hours a night. It is literally a third of your life. How would you expect to get ahead in life if you're sleeping for a third of it? Now, I know you're thinking, 8 hours, that's what's healthy. That's what your body needs. Now, I'm not saying that you should never get 8 hours of sleep. What I'm saying is you have to have the mentality that sometimes you will be uncomfortable and lose some sleep to achieve certain things. Just like people who work in the stock market know that if they live on the West Coast, they can't wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning. Because folks on the East Coast, for them, the stock market has already been open for 3 hours and decisions are being made. They can't afford to be waking up at 8 o'clock in the morning. Just like I know that during those rehearsal periods for those theaters that have late rehearsals until 10 p.m., I know that it's really important for me to work outside of rehearsal at home on my character. And if I have a day gig, then I'm going to need to make a decision. I'm going to have to make myself uncomfortable and find that time. Either get up earlier or stay up later. But sleep will just need to be lost. It's just the way it is. And that's how we have to look at growth. Being uncomfortable is part of that process. Being tired, putting in extra hours, putting yourself in situations that you normally wouldn't be in if you were comfortable, right? Like having anxiety and fear of public speaking. If you've never done it, or if you only do it when you absolutely have to, of course you're not going to be good at it. Of course, it'll be terrifying, but what do you think will happen if you worked at it? Over time, you will get more comfortable with it, right? And we put children through this same growth process. They get put in situations that challenge them, that make them uncomfortable every day. Every day in math, they learn something new. They have to read in front of the class. Every year in Spanish, they learn things. It's constant at school, especially if they play sports. They're in situations that challenge them, that make them uncomfortable, and it grows them. And as adults, we begin to avoid these circumstances and challenges, and we grow at a much, much slower pace. Now, the second thing I want to bring up that we should be doing is feeding our mind. And I've talked about this before, but I have to bring it up again because it's really important. What books are you reading? What podcasts are you listening to? Now, you're already on a good track by listening to me, but what things are you learning? What are you reading online? Do you only follow celebrities and funny cat video pages, or do you follow those pages that give you knowledge and insight? The more they feed you, the more The more they feed your mind, the more your outlook on life will change, and it'll be an advantage to you because you know things that you didn't used to. And I pride myself on that. You can ask anybody that knows me. I have a lot of random knowledge rambling inside my brain, and it's because I make it a point to learn about as many things as possible. And what happens is my conversations are different. Way more different, especially when they need to be. Like, yes, I have a certain way I talk around my family and my friends, especially my homeboys, but in certain rooms that you walk in, they require you to speak a certain way. They require you, that's a tongue twister. Certain rooms require you to speak a certain way. Certain rooms require you to have a certain amount of knowledge. And you have to be mentally prepared for those situations. And feeding your mind will give you so much more perspective on life and many other things in the long run, right? The decisions you make, the habits you pick up will serve you way better. There is literally only good that can come from knowing and learning many, many things. And the third thing is, and I've mentioned this before too, is who you associate with. Now, there is an incredible power to who you hang around. And to grow, you have to have at least that one friend that you look up to. That one friend that you know when you're around them, you feel like you have to step up your game. Because who you hang around is very indicative of who you are. Now, there's this saying that if you want to know who you will be in 10 years, look around you. It'll be the average of the people who you spend the most time with. And this is true. Think about the people who you hang around with the most. Now, I know it's definitely true for me. Most of my friends who are also actors, we are pretty much in the same stratosphere as far as where we are in life. And I know I've been motivating them, right? And they see me putting in so much work on myself that they've even told me, they're like, hey man, you've been motivating me, right? You motivated me to start waking up earlier, or you motivated me to start being serious with my workouts. And all I did was be myself. It's not like I was preaching to them about this stuff, but they see what I'm doing and it compelled them to take action. And that's what would happen if you spend time around those people you feel like are on a higher level than you. And what I'm not telling you to do is compare yourself. Let me say that again. I'm not telling you to compare yourself. What I'm saying is those people should motivate you. They should motivate you to want to put in that work to grow. Friends who you want to level up for. So who can you add to your group of friends? And it should be friends who will want to see you level up and want to see you level up to the status that they believe you can be at. And the last thing I'm going to mention is specificity. Specificity. Woo, I can't read or talk today. The last thing is specificity. We have to be intentional about the exact type of growth we want, down to the T. It's one thing to have goals. Goals are good, but goals that aren't specific will get you results that may not be what you really wanted. Let's take fitness, for example, fitness goals. Who do you think will see the biggest results? The person that says they want to get in shape, or the person who has a certain amount of pounds they want to lose, who has a specific routine and diet plan, who knows exactly what day and times of the week they'll work out, right? Person B will more than likely see more results, right? Of course they will. We can't be general and vague. What are your intentional and specific ways that you want to grow? How do you get there? What are the benchmarks and the dates to achieve them? You have to give yourself a deadline. Otherwise, those goals are just wishes. Give yourself deadlines. Otherwise, your goals are just dreams. Specificity is the key to growth. So is simplicity, meaning you have to break it down to specific strategic tasks that will require you to know exactly what you're doing. Like, for example, I was planning a music video. And my goal was to have a lot of people in the music video. And I came to a realization that I can't do it by myself. So I brought in people to help, people that I know will have specific or that had specific tasks that I gave them to make that day and the preparation to that day, to leading up to that day, run smooth as possible. And I would have went crazy if I tried to contact over 70 people and secure a location and take care of the food and take care of planning a shot list and trying to direct the video, marketing, crowd control. I literally would have drove myself crazy. So I gave people, including myself, certain tasks to keep it as simple as possible. And as you know, and maybe have seen, the video is Soul Food, which is on YouTube, by the way, Soul Food by dariusdotch. It went smooth. And it was a beautiful day, and everything went as perfect, and I couldn't have been more happier with it. But the reason why, or one of the reasons why it did, is because I planned it out. I was very specific, very strategic. Now, the last thing that we need to grow, the last thing is momentum. We need momentum. Once we get started, we have to keep fueling that fire. Momentum is the reason why people's New Year's resolution always fall apart by April. They don't maintain that momentum. They think that once they start towards the goal, that they can just coast and they'll eventually get there. No, that's not how growth works. Yeah, you might start out fast and strong, but eventually you will slow down. Eventually you won't have as much motivation. And those are the times when you have to manufacture that momentum. You have to keep feeding that fire. You'll have to find different ways to motivate yourself when the old ways aren't working. Momentum is so important. I always compare it to sports. Now, come playoffs, the team with the most momentum usually ends up in the Super Bowl. Not necessarily the best team, right? We see upsets in the playoff all the time, every year. Why? Because it's the team that starts playing their best football towards the end of the season that will catch a team who might actually be better than them slipping and beat them, right? That momentum carries them. Same thing in life. If you build up that momentum, it will carry you towards your growth. It will help guide you. Those opportunities for growth will present themselves, and if you have that momentum, you'll snatch it. So figure out how to build up that momentum. And stack those days when you get everything done on your to-do list. Have those moments where you tell yourself one more rep for everything. Not just working out, but in life. If you read 2 chapters, make it 3. If you decide to study for 2 hours, make it 2.5. If you respond to 15 emails, make it 20. That's the kind of momentum that will propel you and magnify you to your growth. Get those small wins. Too many times we want the big goals and we try to achieve it all at once. Stack some small wins and keep stacking them, and that will give you that momentum you need. So again, you are either growing or you're dying. I know it sounds grim, but what we absolutely cannot do is get stagnant. Being stagnant will no doubt kill your dreams, it will kill your ambition, and you will end up being the same person you were last year. And I really don't want that for myself, but I really don't want that for you. So let's get it in. Let's put this work in and let's see some growth. Trust me, it feels amazing. So that's what I got for you today. If you like this episode, please share it with somebody that can benefit from this, somebody who is a friend or a family member, somebody who has goals and is trying to improve their lives. So thank you again, and let's get it in.